Hey everyone, welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive show with me, Reed Daly. If you're new around here, this is the show where we cover technology from consumer to the mid-market all the way through the enterprise. We talk about who's making it, who's using it, and how it's changing the world. This week, we are doing a very special Masters edition. If you couldn't tell by my Masters theme hat, my Masters top, I'm a big golfer. I'm not a great golfer. I love the sport. I love playing it. I love talking about it. I love the camaraderie. I love the shared experience. And more importantly, I love the technology that's powering it, influencing it from the broadcast booth to the players to the fan experience. Before we jump into the show, I want to remind you we are on Apple Podcast and Spotify. We're also on YouTube. And I gotta say, YouTube is just fantastic. It's a great place to be. And we're doing the full show as well as show clips on YouTube, as well as over on Instagram. And of course, you can check us out on our newsletter through LinkedIn, the Digital Deep Dive Show. And with all that said, let's jump into this week's edition of the show. So I wanted to take a minute and spotlight, instead of doing news around the globe on tech, I wanted to talk about sort of tech as it pertains to the golf experience. And I thought I would sort of break it down into getting better in terms of launch monitoring in the practice field, then talking about sort of shot tracking on the course, kind of helping you find your shots on the course, and then, a little bit of fun and a little bit of recovery. So there are many solutions out there for what we'll call launch monitors. And if you go to a facility, you'll hear them referred to as simulators. And the one I want to talk about more specifically is the Garmin R10. And so I should have brought it because we're doing the camera, but it's a little package, no bigger than, let's say, an iPhone. And for $499, I believe, is what it's retailing at, you can have a practice monitor, launch monitor behind you. And so you can get real statistics about your shot path, your speed, direction, et cetera, on your iPhone. And what's really cool with this is you can also go Garmin to your mobile device, and I'm going to use iOS in this case, Apple phone to an Apple TV, and then to a projector or a TV. So you can actually be watching your shots through a TV and iPad, or you can get a projector and you can actually use it as a launch monitor and build your own golf simulator at your house. So I am I will call it step one of the three-step process. So I've got or step two, I guess. I've got the launch monitor. I've got some turf. And I don't think it's the right turf, but I got some turf and a net. And now I need to maybe build a screen and get the projector. So I guess I'm halfway there. And I'm going to build my own setup in my house. Now, you can go way more and go out and buy $5,000 Garmin devices that are more accurate, do better. You can jump up to TrackMans that are $20,000 and $30,000 for those units, and they are amazing. You have to buy computers for those machines, and they're great, and they're a whole lot of fun. But for messing around at my house, practicing on the golf range, I highly recommend the Garmin R10. There are other options obviously out there, but it's the one that I'm using and having a lot of fun with. Next up is talking about how do you know the distance of your shot? So the idea is that you get your clubs, you're sort of driving woods, you get your irons, your wedges, and you practice, and you basically know, okay, on a perfect day, my drivers go this distance. Then my irons go this distance. So my 4, my 5, my 6, my 7, my 8, my 9, et cetera, et cetera. And once you sort of know your distance, then it's just mental math on the course. So you'll have sort of a GPS, and there are solutions that are dedicated devices that are on your wrist, on the cart, and you can also use apps through devices, smartwatches. And you basically say, okay, I'm 100 yards out, that's a 52 for me, or I'm 140 out, it's a pitching wedge, and they are not as good as a caddy, but they're pretty darn helpful. And there are a lot of solutions out there. Garmin, which we talked about in the launch monitor, does a great job. Blue Tees is an up and coming brand that does a nice job. It's a standalone, as well as they've done some integrations, screen and screenless with speakers. I actually have the screenless one, and it's really handy. It gives you kind of front, back, middle. And then I am using I've been using it for 4 or 5 years, the Golf.Shot GPS Plus app for Apple Watch. And what I love about this, and what I sort of laughed, is I had this on my wrist and I didn't read any of the owner manuals online. And I was playing with a buddy of mine who's more technical and technology oriented than me. He actually builds software for a living. And he's like fussing around with his Apple Watch, and I see him sort of scroll down, scroll over. I'm like, what are you doing on your phone? I made sort of a joke, like get off Flipboard or whatever. And he's like, no, if you slide right, you can actually enter your number of shots and number of putts. So I love the simplicity of this device. It works great. You've got the app on your phone, and then it sort of has a smaller version of that where you can see a picture of the hole on your watch. More importantly, you can see distance to the hole, and you can enter in, your number of shots and putts. Now, what you don't get on that particular version, I'm using, I think, the free version, or a very low end version of that. I think they've got an ultra premium. You can start to see, recommendations for clubs, I believe. And there are other solutions that do recommendations of clubs and then incorporate wind speed. For me, that's like just a lot of tech on the course where I just want to be able to say, okay, which club am I, I've decided a club, which club should I go with? All right, let's grip and rip. And so that's the one that I've been using, and I like it. It's been a lot of fun and super helpful. I don't like playing golf without it. Even if I'm on the course with a caddy, I will use it just because it gives me sort of a point of view that's slightly different, or it's just I'm waiting for the caddy and I'm just like impatient. Next up is a system that I've not personally used, but a number of my friends have used. It's the Argo system, and there are others. What I'm doing with this show is just talking about ones that I either have experience with or friends have had experience with, not necessarily that I've bought them. No one's sponsoring this. So the Argo system is like a little puck or a little pin, bigger than a pin, that plugs into the back of the top of your club, and it hooks to a mobile app. And so it basically knows, I guess, when you hit a ball and then how far you walk to the next one. It does sort of the mental math and knows how long you're hitting certain balls on certain holes in certain courses. So it's like a level deeper, whereas the rangefinder on the app is just distance to the hole. This would give you like, hey, on this type of hole, on this course, you typically hit a 6 and you've got a 7 out, like switch clubs, or this is the recommendation. And people like it. I think it only works with certain clubs, but there are competitors out there that would work with any club from what I've seen. So highly recommend checking that out and, getting truly dialed in. The next I want to talk about is recovery, and then we're going to kind of close out with fun. So there are two main apps that I've seen on the golf course. I've seen the Oura Ring, and then I've seen the Whoop Band. And I typically see the Whoop Band more than the Oura Ring. My guess is some players don't like the feeling of a ring while they're playing. I always play with my wedding ring, and it doesn't bother me. And then the Whoop Band you can use in competition because there is no screen, whereas like I believe you can't use a smartwatch because that would give a competitive advantage. So with the Whoop, a lot of golfers tend to use that. I've seen a mixed bag, some wear it on the wrist, some up on their upper arm underneath their kind of polo shirt. What's really cool is I've seen in some of the golf tournaments, I think the Players has some sort of partnership with Whoop, and you'll actually see the heart rate spike of a player as they're kind of walking down after a big shot or in preparation of a big shot, and then as they're getting ready to hit the shot, and then it drops right after it. But Whoop and Oura Ring both are sort of the leadings that I see out in the golf course that people tend to be using and looking at recovery, like, hey, I had a long day either professionally or on the golf course, and they like to look at it. Obviously these athletes are dialing it in a little more, and they're trying to understand how much did they push their bodies and how much should they do for recovery, how much sleep did they get, what does their body need. And so those are two solutions that I see a lot in the marketplace and are really leaning into golf among other sports. Now, the last one I want to talk about is a bit of fun. Fair Game is a mobile app created, I think it was created by, or it was founded by Ben from Hodinkee, who got into golf during COVID. And then he partnered with Adam Scott, and they have an amazing team over there. And so the folks that are sort of designing it, and I want to make sure I've got their names right because I've screwed this up twice. You've got Eric Mayville, who's a co-founder with Ben, Andrew Haynes, who's the VP Executive Creative Director, and is one of my favorite sort of creatives on the web, just in terms of look, feel, brand aesthetics, everything ticks and ties. I'm just like a huge fan. And then Jamie Gear, and I don't think I'm saying her name right. She's the program and app manager. And this app is like making golf really interesting for me. So you can register and create an account, and it's something like if Gin, which is the Golf Handicap Index app, and Instagram came together. And then they had like an AI storyteller mixed on top. And so you can create an account, and then you can either play with people who have accounts or just add people into that round. And then you can select the game. So you could play all the different games that are available from a betting perspective, or ways to play, if you will, in golf. So this could be a scramble, this could be nines, skins, closeout, stroke play, match play, Nassau. Now, within the app itself, you can't integrate with gaming solutions, but you can say we're going to do like a wager, and it tells you how much each person owes the other person. What I think would be really amazing is if they could partner with a gaming app like a FanDuel or DraftKings or one of these other sports books. And not only could you do betting within the groups, but there could be betting at the clubhouse or some sort of social integration, almost like through Facebook or Instagram or something, and say, hey, we're going out and playing, here is everyone's handicaps, here's the weather, there's data on how these players have performed, and you basically get social betting on your weekend round, which I think would be really fun and really interesting. So those are sort of the 5 apps. Back to, practicing, finding your shot, knowing your club, recovery, and having some fun. I highly recommend checking the technology out, the apps out. Definitely check out the Fair Game app out. It's free. And you'll see when you close out a round, they have sort of like an AI storyteller, so you can see how well you did in the round, and it kind of gives you like a narrative. It's pretty clever. All right, so looking at sort of the deep dive, one of the things I wanted to do was look at what's going on with the Masters. So one of the things that I think is hysterical is the Masters has really prided itself on technology. However, when you're on the grounds, you can't have phones. Like, they won't even let you on property with a phone. So it's like a weird experience when you go there because you don't have your phone with you. You can't take pictures. You can't text people. You can't find people, you have to go the old fashioned way. We'll meet, at this hole at this time. They literally have free phones available that you can call home, which I thought was pretty fun to do. But I wanted to look at what's going on from a technology perspective at and around the Masters. So I figured we'd break it down into sort of 3 different buckets. The first is the fan experience. The next is what's going on from a broadcast perspective. And the last is going on from the player's perspective. So from the fan perspective, IBM and Watson X AI is all over this. And what they've done is they've got their enhanced hole insights 2.0, which is providing data-driven analysis for every shot with AI narrations available in English and Spanish for every shot and every hole. You've got the Masters Tournament app revamped with clearer 3D visuals of Augusta National using aerial scanning and video on demand. And that's going to be available on iOS, Android, and Apple Vision Pro, which I would love to see an experience in Vision Pro. And then what's really cool now is they've got the practice range tracker. So they're offering live and recorded data from every shot on the range. My guess is that they're doing some sort of integration with a TrackMan or some other solution for that. Now, from the practice and range tracker, I'm like super geek. I'd love to know what these players are doing the night before in terms of nutrition, number of hours of sleep, how they wake up, how they do their prep before they get to the golf course, the nutrition, and then how they get ready for their warm up. One of my favorite things that I've seen from Brooks Koepka years ago, he's like, People always, question my warm up. He's like, I'm warming up before I come to the golf course. By the time I get there, I just need to hit a couple balls. I'm ready to go. Like I've hit a million balls. Like just got to get the engine going, if you will. And that would just be interesting to see. The next thing is the fantasy golf. There's integration into the Masters app, which is allowing users to create teams and earn points based on user performance. Once similar to the Fair Games app, it would be cool to have integration with betting apps. My guess is that the Masters is probably not going to do that, but maybe down the road, you certainly can get that experience from other betting and gaming platforms. And then on the on-course experience, enhanced mobile connectivity, large digital displays, scoreboards, and interactive information. But once again, you cannot have your phone. From a broadcast perspective, they've got cameras on all 18 holes, as you would expect. Everything's HD 4K. Now, they've got 3D models of Augusta everywhere. And then they've got like live streaming options, which is on masters.com, the Masters app, featured groups, Amen's Corner, coverage at key holes. So you can get it on your TV, on Apple TV. The Apple TV app is fantastic. Every year I have my desk here, and then to the right, I move a TV, and it's the only time that I put a TV in my office, or I go and work in the other room where there's a TV and I sit at the couch. Otherwise, I'm usually like a person that likes just music, but at this time of year, I think it's probably the Masters and maybe Champions League or the World Cup is the only time like I have a TV in my office. And then of course, for the broadcast perspective, they're going to have golf tech, motion, OptiMotion technology integrated into the broadcast for swing experts. Now, we talked about the fan experience. We talked about the broadcast experience. Let's talk about the players. So the players will have the ShotLink system powered by CDW, which gives them real data, statistical data. They'll have advanced ball tracking for their practice round. We talked about, obviously, the fans get that experience. The players get that as too. They get this swing analysis from the booth, from the golf tech OptiMotion, and then real-time player location data, which I guess is interesting just to see how it's stacking up, how quickly these players are, where they are on the course, etc. And then you're going to have statistical analysis from, I think I heard the statistic of something like 200,000 shots, which I actually thought seemed low, but they probably can't go back too far in the history just because of TV and trying to figure out where everything is. But that's a ton of data, and that's all running through IBM. That kind of wraps it up in terms of like what's going on in terms of technology in and around golf, what's happening with the Masters. If you don't play golf, go check it out. Go spend a day with no tech, and then you'll get hooked. And then you want to do all the tech, and then you'll get all the tech, and then you'll say this is all useless, or I need to just be one with the game. But whatever you do, go play golf and go watch the Masters. It's going to be a great time. I think you're seeing, this show is obviously mostly about technology, but what you're seeing is different sort of personalities of the players and the brands starting to emerge, where it's not just country club look, it's not just sports, but there's some like cultural elements popping into it. So it's going to be a fun experience from a user viewing. Because of all the data, you're going to have a lot of colorful personalities out there because of the Live Golf and PGA sort of conflicts, and then just personal differences from some of these competitive players. And then lastly, you're going to have like brands just showcasing and showing up and showing out. That wraps it up for the show. This was probably the most fun I've had doing this show in a long time, only because it's just a topic that I love near and dear. And it's just fun to talk about my passions, which is technology and sports. You can check out the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube. We're on Instagram, X, Threads. You can also check us out, or me out, at Reed Daily on LinkedIn. And you can find me online. I almost forgot that part. Almost jumped the gun. I've got 3 events coming up I want to talk about. So tomorrow is a big day for me. We are doing I'm hosting the Rebuilding America Manufacturing perspective on finance, real estate, and reshoring through the great team at FEI Chicago. We're doing it at the Stern Pinball Factory in Elk Grove. Looking forward to that. It's going to be a panel of 5 folks. About 150 people are coming. I'm looking forward to going to a pinball factory. I've never been to one. And just hearing different perspectives from different disciplines about what are they seeing in and around manufacturing as we look to reshore. Next up is in Boston, mastering the sale process from decision making to post-sale success. That is with the team from Blank Rome and with the fine folks with Cohen Resnick, which I'm involved with. So looking forward to that. And then later that day on April 16th, I've got a whiskey tasting and networking night thanks to the good folks from ACG Boston. Looking forward to that. Haven't been to an ACG event in Boston in 2020. And it's been a couple months since I've been to Boston, so looking to get back there. Like I said, like, follow, subscribe to the show, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you are a founder, entrepreneur, and have a technology company that you want to showcase, that you have something unique that you want to share, please message me. I'd love to learn more about your solution. Looking at possibly doing some derivative of this show on YouTube only, where we would do some like webinars about the show and walking through key features, a little less scripted than like a 2 or 5 minute sort of commercial or a really tailored demo, but more having a conversation and kind of capturing that live. So thinking about doing that. Let me know, guys, what you think about that. And until next week, I will catch you on the Digital Deep Dive Show. Thanks for tuning in.